YouTube, Runa here. This was a question from a viewer I got a while ago. I'm very late answering this, but it's a great question, and this is just my opinion, the way I see it. A lot of people have different opinions on this whole topic. That is the topic of, we as spiritualists, are we working with spirits or are we working with parts of ourselves? What's out there? Are we just kind of in our own heads with this, or is each demon a part of us, a different part of our own consciousness, our own collective consciousness, I guess we should say? Or are we actually working with physical deities? What are they? What are we? It's a widely debated topic that I've seen plenty of times, and I hold my own opinions on it. And from what I gather, I think it's both. That we're working with parts of ourselves as well as we are working with external consciousnesses that are the demons or the spirits. Now, from where I can get this opinion would be from a few different places. So, parts of ourselves. We all have these different kinds of parts to us. We have different sections to our being, and each of these spirits, sorry, moving something, each of these spirits tends to represent a different thing, or has a different specialty that could help you with different things. And if we can see these parts of us as within us, it takes away some of, I guess you want to call the woo-woo part of this whole thing. It takes a lot of the mystery out of it. And to me, that kind of sounds more like it's shadow work in a way, or a meditative sort of a thing. Or it's basically a self-exploration sort of a thing as well. And it's perfectly fine to look at it that way. However, I see this as limiting. And I work with demons regularly. I work with spirits, and I see them, and they move stuff, and they speak to me. I mean, just the other day, I was having a pendulum session with a couple of demons, and one of them knocked over my trash can. Like, just knocked it right over as soon as I started. Others have knocked other things over. I've seen things move. I've been touched before. I've seen wounds appear on people. Just for an example, years ago, when I was still with my very abusive ex, he and I were laying in bed together, just kind of chilling, nothing weird happening at that time. But nothing weird was going on. We were all clothed, don't worry. And he had shorts on, like regular dude shorts and stuff, and we were just laying on the bed laughing and talking, and his leg was fine. I looked down and his leg was fine. He didn't move. A few moments later, I looked back. His leg is gushing blood. And he had been being tormented by this spirit the whole time he had been here. That's a whole story in itself. But that is solidification for me that this whole thing is real and external as well. As for the demons, I view this the same way. There's been so many different experiences that I've had that have made this so real to me through my perception. And yours may be differently, or maybe different than mine. Even if I do have a device that I don't get cut off on, I still can't talk. But your view may be different than mine. You may work with them differently. Personally, I work with them very closely to myself. And when I work with them, I see that as working with them and myself. Because what I do with and for them, I am doing for myself. I'm working on different parts of my consciousness, bringing forth different parts of my consciousness to come to the table and meet them there, essentially. Now, when I say I feel it's very limiting to only view them as a part of our own collective consciousness, is that when you are trying to manifest things and you're starting to view them as, just internal, you're limiting that power to, I guess, what you can do, or what you think you can do, or only what you can do, essentially. When you have that sort of feeling that you're working with something external to you that gives power to them and lets them give more to you, essentially, it opens opportunities for you. So personally, I think that it's both. We all have sides to ourselves. And another reason why I think that the collective consciousness view is also accurate, not incorrect, but not wholly correct, is because if we take a look back in the day, and I'm talking way back in the day, like take your pantheons of Greek, Roman, Celtic gods and goddesses. And even going back even further to like Sumerian gods, goddesses, and really ancient things, Aztec. You can go back and go to anything that has a polytheistic kind of a view. We have polytheism here because there is a specific deity for each aspect of life. There are gods and goddesses of the harvest, of different parts of the harvest, of the ocean, of the storms, like thunder, lightning, different parts of us, the ones that are of love, of hate, punishment, and justice, death, life. There are the tops of the pantheons, the overseers. Like, I guess Zeus would be one for the Greek. Take Odin for the Norse. The more parental figures, and that kind of means. These are all concepts that we have in our lives. And they're all concepts that people had back then that they were worrying about and actively pursuing in their lives. The harvest, the rains, the love, fertility, everything. I mean, the list just goes on. And then different planetary spirits and gods and goddesses and everything else. There's pretty much a spirit for everything. A god or a goddess for everything, and some. Even days of the week. Everything. Ruled by something. And it all connects. And given that personification there, we have thought forms that create themselves and become external. And they're created through their own collective consciousnesses from our belief in that same kind of way. I don't really fully know what to make of the idea of we were created by a being more than we created them. I don't fully know how to feel about that. All I know is that the latter makes sense. A lot of sense. Excuse me. Because of how much we went through back then, how much we had to worry about, and we still worry about these things today, but day-to-day life was more ruled by these things for a lot more of those types of people. I mean, here, the average person doesn't really have to worry about sowing crops or the rains or other things of that nature, or cattle, or other things of that kind of thing. most people did. A lot of people were farmers, and it was a lot of labor, a lot of really hard work to live and sustain a civilization. Now we have all these things now, but most of us are just worried about making ends meet. We're worried about making a good life for ourselves, taking care of our families, having nice stuff a lot of times. And that applies still, but in a different way. So if you think about the collective thought and energy put into these beings, it's going to create this whole thing anew. That's what makes sense to me when I see different beings, take Lucifer for instance, that has different masks or archetypes in all sorts of different pantheons. A collective consciousness, a being that has many faces. Like, I mean, Lucifer has faces for days. For days and days and days. And it's like, it's endless. He is very faceted, and he's seen in a lot of places. And I mean, not always as like this bad devil character that the Christians kind of made him out to be, but he is representative in a lot of different pantheons and connected to other demons too. He is faceted. Many demons, many spirits are faceted like this. Archangel Michael is faceted. Astaroth is faceted. Lilith is faceted. There's many different collective consciousnesses with these different demons and these different spirits. So I think all cultures really kind of come together in some kind of way to have this. And like looking at it from that perspective, it brings up one of the most pointed out things when it comes to studying religion, is that it seems like it's all the same, but different. Solar worship, essentially. And I've seen that kind of thing. I mean, there's deities for all the planets, the sun, the moon, and everything else. And then we move with the cycles of the harvest. And if you look at Wicca, and like where the wheel of the year is very prominent and discussed heavily in that sort of pagan spirituality. The whole wheel of the year is honoring of the harvest and the different cycles of the year. The story of the god and the goddess, and the fighting and the rebirth and the death. These are all planetary cycles, lunar and solar cycles, mostly solar cycles actually. And it makes sense. It's essentially solar worship. But it's more than that. It's not just worshiping a planet or a celestial body. It becomes more than that. Because the mind is powerful. The spirit is powerful. We all come from somewhere. Everything comes from somewhere, right? The question is where. And I think, moreover, rather than we became who we are or what we are by the gods became what they are because of us. A god is only a god if he has worshippers or followers. In that respect, at least. Of course, there's the other definition of being a god, the left-hand path definition of that we are all gods in our own rights, and we see ourselves as this. But for that definition, it makes sense there with the whole solar worship thing and the idea of collective thought, being able to create deities in the same way egregores and thought forms are created. Is the same reason why the versions that Christianity sees of demons exist and do bother people sometimes. I mean, I've had problems with some of them every once in a while because some people don't know how to fucking do things right. And they end up getting the attention of something that's not nice, or something that's just going by the name of something. I mean, the topic of demons versus Christian demons and everything else is a very broad topic. And they do exist, in my experience, but they exist because of the thought forms that so many people have put on them. And sorry, I bumped my arm. That's why it looked like we had an earthquake there for a second. Because looking back, remember what I said about the facets of different deities? I mean, most of these different demons and deities, they are pretty much all of them, actually, I would say, dare I say, they're old gods, the ancient gods. And the reason why they became demons is because of things like Christianity. This dogmatic thing that shifted the worldview and put us under control. Now, that happened about 2,000 years ago, right? It's a long time for things to be one way. It's a long time for people to be believing something. It's a long time to collect energy into those thoughts. So it would make sense that in the same way that we gave life to the gods by creating those thought forms based upon the different aspects of life, is that if someone says all of the gods that are here, they are actually demons, they're evil, and you must worship this one god to be saved, your view of them shifts. And thus creating this other view of them. Now, I'm not done exploring this topic yet in spirit, but I have asked a couple demons, are the spirits that have come forth through egregoric belief and stuff, in terms of Christianity, the actual negative ones that want to go after people and things, and the version of the Christian devil that wants souls and shit, are they all parts of the same collective consciousness as the actual demons? I've gotten a no so far, but I don't want you to quote me on that yet, because I'm still researching this. Because I want to know. I want to know. And I can see the separation and where it would make sense. Because a god is a god, and a thing that wants to destroy you is the thing that wants to destroy you. And what someone stands for is what they stand for. It's not what you tell them they stand for. It makes sense. Now, we also have different facets and different traits within different masks of various collective consciousnesses of spirits. You definitely do. You have more tricky ones. Like, take Loki, for instance. It's a version of Lucifer. He's a big trickster. You be careful with him a little bit. He's tricky. I have not worked with him quite yet, but I have heard stories about him and how tricky he actually is. And he embodies more of that side of him. Different personalities come out through different things. But in what I was told before, I can see it, but at the same time it sounds like it would make sense if they were connected. But I have been attacked and bothered by those negative sorts of things before, and then gone back and asked after an evocation of the spirit on terms of my own sort of thing, because the only reason I was attacked was because somebody else had this attached to them. And whoop-de-doo, because I'm friends with them, I became a target. Yay! Thanks. But I went and asked them, is this a side of you? And I was told no. So either we are having a separation of consciousness there, where there is no actual connection between those egregoric thingies that make all the demons look bad, or we have tricksters that are using those names to fuel fear, because that is very likely and happens a lot. Oh boy, does it happen a lot. So the debate on that is, it goes back and forth. It's like, yeah. And it's not really a gigantic priority for me to know that, like, immediately. I want to know and I want to research it, but it's not my first topic that I want to address right now. Like, it's something that I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's not like a dire thing that I want to know. So, when I get solid gnosis with this, I'll share it with you. But this is what I got so far on that. And that makes sense. Because my experience with the actual demon that I evoked or I talked to on good terms was absolutely nothing like the thing that bothered me and attacked me. Nothing. And I'm also a lot more weathered now. So before anyone goes to saying it was probably the same thing talking to you again, trying to get your trust, before we say that, I was a lot less experienced back then. I was very, very new. And, you know, newbies get attacked by things sometimes, and it sucks. You know, it's almost like your spiritual hazing sort of period, I guess. You have to learn, and like it's like a part of your initiation. Not literally, but you know, it can happen. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it can happen, you know? But I know how to check to make sure I'm talking to the actual spirit now, and to get to know like the actual energies there, and to tell the difference. As you get into this more, you'll be able to do that sort of thing. So I am very, very positive that that was not the same thing. And what he had said to me made sense. So this is what I'm offering to you. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this in the comment section. And what do you think on this whole thing? Does this make sense to you? And I'm definitely open to debate with this, because it is such a widely debated topic. I think we have to come from somewhere. Consciousness is something that is amazing. And it goes beyond evolution. It takes it a step further. And the idea to create the gods, to create things, is endless. That we are gods ourselves. We have to be. If we can do that, we have to be gods ourselves. There's no other way. So do I think that what we work with is just in our heads? No, I don't. And I'll stand by that. I've had far too many physical experiences with things to know that I'm not some telepathic weirdo that can just doing it to myself. As much as I may have wanted to like, you know, scratch my ex's leg open, I didn't touch him. He didn't move. And the thing attacked him, did it because it wanted to, and it didn't like him. So, yeah. Much as I like think that my ex deserved that, I didn't do that. I couldn't have done that. And, you know, that was before I, like, really got away from him. Long before I got away from him. And that's just one example of physical shit. Like, you know, there's a ton more. A ton more. But I don't think that this is all just in our heads. I don't think it's just that much. And I don't think that thinking that means you're worshiping and you're bowing to something either. Worshipping and honoring are two different things to me. Now, you can get very devotional in what you work with, but you can do that without bowing and licking their feet. I'm not a worshiper, but if I am working with a spirit that I'm very, very fond of, and they're fond of me, and we have a very, very close relationship, I will treat them like they're like the most amazing thing, because that's how I feel like you should treat things that you like and people that you like. And I will go a step further and a step beyond for them, because that's important to me to do that, to show my appreciation there. Showing your appreciation doesn't mean you're licking boots. So I don't think that doing that sort of thing is inherently the same thing as a Christian does to their archon god. I mean, for something that has so many worshippers, he doesn't do shit. He doesn't do shit. And Christianity can just make me rant forever. And I've seen some YouTubers on here that are like hella Christian and like super radical. And honestly, it makes me want to do react videos to them. And I don't want to do that on this channel. If you want to see me rage, though, let me know, because I've been debating on maybe making another channel or making this just like a side thing, like when I need to actually like expose a rage at that kind of thing. I'm just like full of it. It's like, fuck. But I think I covered everything here. I think I'm actually looking at where this is. So give me 1 second. And everything. Yeah, I think I covered everything. Okay, so that was very, very long-winded, but this is a big topic. So please, I'm down for respectful debate in the comments. If you disagree with me, then that's fine. Either way. All right. Well, I love to hear what you think. I always want to hear what you think, feedback, or anything, any questions you have, anything you want to see. Let me know, please. Please do. Okay. So I hope I answered your question. To the viewer that gave me this question, I hope I did. If I left anything out, please don't hesitate to let me know. And I will review that, or like maybe I'll make a follow-up video just so it's out there for everyone. But yeah, this is the longest video I've ever made on this channel, but I think it's worth it. Okay, so thank you for staying the whole time if you're actually listening to this, and blessed beast, if you prefer. Hail Satan, and I love you all. Have a lovely, lovely day, my lovelies.